Good morning, friends. Today we will continue our discussion on lasers. So here the topics to be covered in this video are shown. We will discuss about how to meet the conditions that are required for laser action along with the components that are required for laser system, and we will also have a short discussion on 3-level and 4-level pumping mechanisms that are highly involved in laser action. The useful references are Optics book by Professor Ajoy Ghatak and a textbook of Engineering Physics by Sri M.N. Avadanulu and Sri P.G. Shirsagar. So you can make a note of it and you can purchase and read them. So the three main conditions that are required for sustained laser action are listed here. We have earlier seen that spontaneous emission, stimulated emission and stimulated absorption processes, how they are interrelated to each other and why the process of stimulated emission is very much required for lasing action. In general, laser output should be sustained in nature. For that, some relationship exists between the Einstein's coefficient, and based on the Einstein's coefficient and their relationships, these three conditions have been arrived at. The first condition is for stimulated action to dominate in the medium, large number of photons are required within the medium. This is very much understandable because when we need this stimulation, that is which is carried out by the external photon. The external photon is trying to knock out the atom that is present in the excited state so that the light is generated in the form of laser beam. Hence, we need a large number of photons for this purpose. Secondly, to increase the probability of stimulated emission, the lifetime of atoms at excited state should be higher. That means, if suppose the lifetime of atoms in the excited state is very much lesser, what happens is that instead of stimulated emission to occur, rather than this process to occur, spontaneous emission will occur. So spontaneous emission is caused because of lesser lifetime of the excited state, so that will lead to incoherent beams only. So we need to have excited energy levels with a higher lifetime. Third condition is that there should be more atoms present in higher energy level compared to lower energy levels. Only then what happens is that we will have stimulated emission process to occur. So these three conditions have to be met for a system to undergo laser action. In general, how to meet these three conditions? In normal states, what happens is that the equilibrium condition is in such a way that the lower energy levels are highly occupied compared to the higher energy levels. So you can see the probability of occupation diagram with respect to energy level distribution, wherein we see that higher probability of atoms, higher probability for the atoms to occur in lower energy levels are there compared to higher energy levels. So exponentially there is a decrease in the probability of occupation. So this is stable equilibrium condition. So more number of atoms, majority of the atoms will lie in the lower energy levels only. But if they are lying in the lower energy levels, it is not possible for laser action to occur. So we need a condition which is called as population inversion, so that the atoms are more in the excited state compared to that of the ground state. So this probability is given by the Boltzmann factor. It gives us the ratio of the number of atoms between excited energy levels. For example, if we consider N2 to be the number of atoms in the energy level E2 and N1 as the number of atoms in the energy level E1, so the ratio is given by N2 by N1 is equal to E power minus E2 minus E1 by KT. So T is the temperature of measurement, K is the Boltzmann constant, E2 and E1 are the energies. So as you can see through the figure, how this equation fits about the probability of occupation and the energy levels, you can see here. In general, the number of atoms that are occupying the level N1 is 10 power 30 times compared to that of the energy level N2. So the number of atoms in the energy level E2. So you can understand how much it is difficult to disturb this equilibrium condition. So we have to introduce an artificial situation wherein the number of atoms are going to be higher compared to the number of atoms that are available in the lower energy levels. So for lacing action to occur, it is mandatory that we meet the requirement of population inversion. So we should also introduce some new energy levels called as metastable states. So in metastable state, what these are nothing but these metastable states will help the atom to stay in the excited energy level for longer time. So these metastable states are normally introduced by impurities that are additionally added inside the material. These impurities are intentionally added, so they are called as dopants. So they are introduced into the crystal lattice. For example, if we are introducing the new energy levels E2 and E4 through the process of doping, they may help us in the lacing action. In general, if we consider the ground level as E1 and the excited level as E4, for example, if we are pumping the atoms in the ground state to the excited level E4, this level E4 may have very much lesser lifetime. It will be of the order of 10 power minus 9 seconds. So the atom cannot stay there for longer time. That is, in 1 nanosecond they will come down to the lower energy level with the process of non-radiative decay and spontaneous emission. Okay, so this will not help us to proceed with the lacing action. So we need to have some new energy level, which is nothing but here it is called as the metastable state, wherein the lifetime is of the order of 10 power minus 6 to 10 power minus 3 seconds. So now we can understand that the period of the atom to stay in the higher energy level is increased by 10 power 3 times to 10 power 6 times. So from the excited energy level, for example, from the level E4, the atom can undergo non-radiative transition to a metastable state E3. So this state, the atom can stay for sufficiently longer time compared to that of the lifetime of the level E4. So here, after when the atoms are staying in the level E3, a new photon can knock the atoms that are available in the level E3 so that they undergo lacing action. So a coherent beam can be made to come out of the system. So in this way, we can achieve population inversion between the energy levels E3 and E2 or E3 and E1. It can be achieved and suitably lacing action can be achieved. So now earlier the level E3 and E2 were not available. We had only E1 and E4. In the pure single crystalline material, only the level E1 and E4 are available, and the gap between these two energy levels is normally termed as the band gap. Now, by the process of doping, we are introducing new energy levels. We can introduce one new energy level or we can introduce two new energy levels. That can be done. So these states are called as metastable states. What is the role of metastable states? They will give some more additional time for the atoms to sit in the higher energy levels. Why they are allowing the atoms to sit in the higher energy levels? Because only when the atoms are waiting in the higher energy levels, there is a very good chance for a new photon to come and knock the atoms that are available in the excited level, so that we can have lacing action, we can have stimulated emission process. That's why, in order to avoid the spontaneous emission that is possible with excited states having lesser lifetime, we are introducing metastable states having more lifetime. Okay, so this is the idea of having the metastable state. Additionally, we have to restrict the photons that are generated within the medium. so that there should be multiple reflections. More and more photons should be generated like a chain of photons. So we have to increase the photon density. That is done by making a setup, that is done by fabricating a new setup which is called as optical resonator or optical cavities. So here we can use mirrors that are parallel and planar in nature, or we can have concentric resonators, confocal resonators, or ring like resonators can be there. The main purpose is that to increase the number of multiple reflections of the photons inside the cavity itself. The photons that are getting generated should again be made incident on the active medium, so that again and again we will have the stimulated emission process to dominate. So now with this introduction you have to guess what we are going to see the next. You can see on the left hand side some parts of the body, right hand side some boy is trying to pump water. So yes, what you have guessed is right. I think you have guessed what we are going to see next. That is parts of the laser system along with what is meant by pumping mechanism. Okay, so here are the three major components in any laser system. Whatever be the laser you take, for example, a normal solid state laser or a gas laser like helium neon laser or carbon dioxide laser, or some excimer lasers, or some liquid lasers like dye lasers. Any laser that you take will definitely have these three main components. They are the active medium, pump and the optical resonators. So we will see them one by one. In the active medium, that is, see, based on the nature of active medium only, we can classify lasers as solid state lasers, liquid lasers, gas lasers or semiconductor lasers. So what is actually the active medium? We have many components inside the laser system, but which component is going to help in the laser emission is called as the active medium. So the active medium can be solid, liquid or gas. In any state it can exist. In the active medium there will be many number of elements or atoms of different species are present, but not all the atoms will have favorable energy levels for lasing action. Only few atoms of a particular species will have these energy levels favorable for lasing action. Such atoms are called as active centers. Okay, such atoms we name them as active centers. And here in this active centers only we will enable the population inversion, and by establishing population inversion we will establish the lasing action also. So this active center is very much important. If for example you consider a NdAg laser, which is neodymium doped yttrium aluminium garnet, that yttrium aluminium garnet is nothing but the host material, and neodymium acts as the activator ion or the active center. So why we are having the host material? That host material will offer favorable sites for doping the required activator ion. The host material will not absorb the output laser. Additionally, this activator ion may be predominantly rare earth ions or very costlier chemicals. So in order to lessen the utilization of the chemicals, so by less utilization of these chemicals, and we have to realize better efficiency, better lasing action, so host materials are preferred. Additionally, host materials should not absorb the output wavelength and should not generate much heat, which can be detrimental for lasing action. Okay, so population inversion is achieved in the active medium only. We can have active mediums in any form. So please understand, if it is solid state laser, we can directly place the active medium as a crystal or glass. If it is liquid or gas laser, we have to have suitable container and we have to seal it properly, and we can perform lasing action. Next is the pumping mechanism. As you have understood, we have to give energy for the atoms that are in the lower energy level and take them to higher energy levels. That process is achieved by the pumping mechanism. Pumping means we are supplying external energy to lift the atoms from lower energy level to higher energy level. That means you are supplying energy. If we want to supply energy from external devices, the energy can be in any form. It can be a light beam, it can be sound waves, it can be electricity, or it can be through any other process also. So pumping here can be done like optical pumping as shown in the first figure, wherein a flash lamp is used. The light from the flash lamp can act as the energy source, can act as the pumping source, and they can pump atoms in the lower energy levels of certain solids or liquids to excited states, and thereafter lacing action can be performed. In the second figure you can see that on two sides of this sealed container you can see cathode and the anode. That means we can have electric discharge that is made available, that is established between the anode and the cathode. So that will cause ionization of the gas medium, and that can raise atoms to excited state. That is also possible. Third one is direct conversion. For example, we can supply electricity to a material like semiconductor and we can directly get light output. So it's a conversion made established directly, purely. So that is also possible. Pumping can be in any of these three forms or in any other different form as well. In an optical resonator, why we need an optical resonator? Actually we are seeing by bits and pieces, and then a laser medium will have all these three. Okay, active medium, pumping mechanism, and the optical resonator. So optical resonator means it is like offering a positive feedback in an oscillator circuit. So more and more oscillations, more and more laser oscillations are offered when we have more photons. So these photons should not be spontaneously emitted, rather it should be in stimulated emission process. If they are spontaneously emitted, what happens is that these photons that are spontaneously emitted will not have any directional behavior, so they will move in random directions, but stimulated photons alone can travel in less random directions. Okay, so that has to be noted down. And this optical resonator is very much helpful because the design, the dimension with which we are making the optical resonator will help us to enable the wavelength of laser output. Suppose in general, many of the lacing setup are designed in such a way that only one wavelength of laser beam comes out, emanates from the system. But there are few cases wherein two beams having different wavelengths can also emerge. But there is a restriction that based on the dimension of optical resonator cavity, we can avoid one wavelength to get we can suppress one wavelength and we can permit one more wavelength to come out. So that is by the design of the optical resonator cavity. So the optical resonator enables us to select the direction in which the light is amplified, and it is also helpful for making the light highly monochromatic, because optical cavity is responsible for selecting and amplifying only certain frequencies, causing the laser output to be highly monochromatic in nature. This is very important. More about this are dealt with the longitudinal and transverse modes of laser beams. In general, the principal pumping mechanisms are 3-level and 4-level pumping mechanisms. Many of the racing systems occupy or have this 3-level or 4-level pumping mechanism. We may think that only two energy levels are sufficient. If, for example, I have two energy levels, one is lower energy level, another one is higher energy level, and I have more atoms in the excited state, then it is fine. I can have lacing action with this. We may think like that. But friends, please remember, when we have only two energy levels, what happens is that there is equal probability that if suppose we have a photon being present, it is going to come inside the setup. There is equal probability that it can it can be absorbed by atom in the lower energy level and move to the excited state, or there is another probability that this incoming photon can be absorbed by an atom in the excited level and it can undergo stimulated emission process. So there is 50-50% probability. So when we have only two energy levels, the energy that is used to pump the atoms to upper laser state has same probability of stimulating them back down. So we have 50-50 chance only. So the process of stimulated emission cannot occur comfortably. So we need at least three energy levels. Okay. So three, or sometimes we can also have four energy levels. This is the reason why we are avoiding two energy level systems. So for example, if we have three energy levels. One level is the ground state, we will give a name E1. Second level E2, which is called as ULL. ULL means upper lacing level. Third level is E3, which is called as the pump state. So this is the level E3. So we are having three energy levels here. First, for example, if an atom is available in the ground state, now because of the external photon supply or external energy, these atoms are now going to be pumped from lower energy level to the excited level. So to the pump level. Okay. So we have understood by the concept of metastable state that we are understanding that the lifetime in this pump state or excited energy level is very much lesser, for example of the order of 10 power minus 9 second. So after 10 power minus 9 second, the atoms that are in the excited level will directly come to this upper energy level, that is ULL. So they will come here to the upper level, and what happens here is that when they are coming to the upper energy level, they can stay for a higher time, because we have understood that the lifetime of metastable states are 10 power 3 to 10 power 6 times higher compared to the excited energy levels. So they are waiting here. These atoms are made to wait in the in this metastable state. So when they are waiting in the metastable state, what happens? A photon from external agency is made to knock the atoms that are available in the metastable state. So they will come to the ground state with the release of two photons. Okay, one is because of the incoming photon, the other is due to this transition. So now first we have to understand population inversion was earlier established between these two levels, E2 and the ground state. So population inversion is not achieved between the level E3 and E2. It is achieved between the level E2 and E1. Okay, the atoms are trapped in the metastable state. So that at one point what happens is that more number of atoms are available in the level E2 compared to that of E1. So population inversion is occurring between the levels E2 and E1. So that has to be understood. And later this process occurs wherein due to the transition we will have the lacing action between the level E2 and E1 only. So first we may also have a question. Sir, when there is a laser output, when the atom is coming from the energy level E2 to E1, why the laser action is not possible when the atom is moving from energy level E3 to E2? This may be a very good question. If suppose you have got this question, then you are really a brilliant person. Why the lasing action has not occurred here? That is a very good question. There are some energy levels that will favor only non-radiative transitions. Non-radiative transition means in order to jump from the excited level to the lower energy level, energy will be released. Sure, if without because with that energy it cannot come down to the lower level, so it will release energy. But if the energy is released in the form of light, only then we will call it as a radiative transition. In all other cases, it is termed as non-radiative transition. So here, the transition between the energy level E3 to E2 is normally called non-radiative transition. This difference in the energy is released in the form of heat. Normally non-radiative transitions are represented as NR, non-radiative transition. And the atoms from metastable state to the ground state, they are making this transition with the release of photons. So this is called as radiative transition. This will end up with the lasing action. So we will get this laser output. Okay. So this is called as 3-level pumping mechanism. And this 3-level pumping mechanism, upon operation, what happens? From the initially, by the process of pumping, the atoms from ground state reach the excited state E3, and after some time they spontaneously decay through the process of non-radiative transition to energy level E2. And there is one point when the number of atoms that are available in the excited state E2 is very much higher compared to ground state. So these atoms, upon incidence with an external photon, they undergo stimulated emission process and release the lasers. Okay, so there when all these atoms jump from the excited energy level E2 to E1, and there is also a point of time when there are no atoms available in the energy level E2. That means the laser will stop functioning. The laser output will stop because population inversion is not there, or almost all atoms have gone to the ground state. So the laser will stop for some time. Again we have to excite the atoms that are in the ground level so that they reach the energy level E3, and then they will come to energy level E2, and thereafter laser will occur. So again and again we will have light output for some time, and for some fraction of seconds it will not be available, then it will again get enabled, then again there will not be any output. So the output here will be in the form of pulses only, because whenever population inversion is not there, the light output will stop without any notice. Okay, that time that we have to understand. That's why light here is in the form of pulses only. The next system is called as 4-level pumping mechanism, wherein, as you have understood the 3-level pumping mechanism, it is very easy to grasp the 4-level mechanism. We have 4 energy levels. One is called as the energy level E1, that is the ground state, and LLL, which means the lower lacing level, which is given designated by E2. Then upper lacing level, which is given by the term E3. Then the pump level, which is nothing but E4. For example, if suppose the atoms at the ground state absorb energy by the process of pumping, they are excited and they will leave to the higher energy level E4. So the E4 energy level will have very much lesser lifetime of the order of 10 power minus 9 second. So the atoms from this level E4, they will move to the upper laser level, that is level E3, by the process of non-radiative transition. So remember friends, here this process is again non-radiative decay only. So heat is generated here and that heat is absorbed by the host material. So here the atoms will come and stay in the upper lacing level. Here there are two metastable states. One is called as upper laser level and the other is called as lower laser level. So the atom will be available in the upper laser level only, and when the new photon comes and collides with the atom in the excited level E2, they will allow the atoms to come to the level E2 by the process of stimulated emission. So laser will be generated here, and after a particular period of time all these atoms will come down to the ground state. So this process is achieved with the help of 4 energy levels. That's why it is called as the 4-level pumping scheme. Here the main advantage is that the laser output will be continuously happening, because the transition will between the energy level E2 and E1 will occur very easily, so that there will be continuously the population inversion is achieved between the energy level E2 and E3. Here the population inversion occurs between these two levels only. Always these atoms, whenever they reach the level E2, they will quickly come down to the ground level. Okay, so always the population inversion will exist. That means more number of atoms will be accumulated in the energy level E3 compared to E2. That's why we will always have a continuous output of laser beam. Hence, this 4-level pumping mechanism will enable the continuous wave operation. Thank you all. If you have any doubts, please post in the comments. Thank you.